Hey, everybody, it's Jim Johnson here with this week's episode of Contractor Radio, our broadcast for contractors to help them with their strategy, help them with their game to kind of get an edge, hopefully, on their market. And today we have somebody very near and dear to my heart. I posted on Facebook yesterday. I said, this is the best sales rep that I ever hired. And there's a little story to it that I recruited him for like a year and a half. It took a year and a half. I told him he was going to be good at it. He wanted to keep working at, I think it was at Pizza Hut. And so he wanted to keep working at Pizza Hut. And so he did that summer, but I kept working on him. We played basketball together and finally got him into the game. So everybody, this is Dan Walrack, or Wally. Welcome aboard, Dan. Glad to have you today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Humble introduction you gave me there.
He's a rock star, and we're going to find out today some of the reasons why he is a rock star. You guys that are watching on Facebook and checking it out there, we can't necessarily see your names on there, but if you make comments, we do see them, so we'll just call them out. Somebody says they're excited for this one. I'm excited and cautiously a little bit scared. We'll see what Dan comes up with today. But Dan, just kind of tell us the story. Like, how'd you get into this? I kind of led into it a little bit, but bring us up to speed with where you are today. 20 years now? Is that right?
21.
21 years, man. And most of that as a sales guy, right? Most of that as a sales guy.
Yeah, I 21 years of doing sales, and I mean, even when I owned my own company, it was sales. I sold. So how I started off doing this is, like Jim said, I was in college, got my degree in physical education, health and fitness. I got a couple minors in coaching and adapted PE and outdoor rec. And Jim gave me the old line for about a year and a half. You'd be really good at this. You'd be really good at this. And I'm like, it sounds too good to be true. You can't make money doing that. Nobody's going to do that. I don't sell vacuums. That's not my niche, right? It's like, no, man, you'd be really good at this. I promise. So I think it was my graduation, was it? Didn't you finally hook me in? Or we went out to dinner.
Yeah.
That's what I know the place. I don't know remember the name.
Copper Kettle?
Copper Kettle. There you go.
Yeah.
So we went out to dinner, and finally I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'll do it for the summer. Whatever it is for the summer. I got nothing going on. I had a teaching and coaching gig all lined up, ready to go. And then we went out to Oshkosh, I believe, and I gave it the summer, and I made more in 3-4 months than I would have made an entire year of teaching at a 22-year-old kid. That was a pretty good deal. So then I pretty much was hooked after that. Nobody ever told me that up north here that what you sell, sometimes you have to bank over for spring. So I had all these jobs left over for spring that was money in the bank starting off in the spring. So
that's how we suck you in, man. That's how
they got you on it. So then I had to cancel my teaching thing, and 21 years later, here I am still doing the same thing, and 20 years of straight million-plus producer. So.
Well, I think you kind of got both of it in. You got this life that is pretty cool, but you still do a lot of coaching and stuff, right? Like you're heavily involved with your kids' football, baseball.
I do. I run the booster program up here for football, and I coach traveling baseball, and I'm the 7th and 8th grade head football coach up here.
See?
So I do a lot of work.
Best of both worlds, right? Like I got to make some money.
But it wasn't like that at the beginning, though. You know that.
What do all those other coaches that work there at the school or teachers think about like the situation?
They have a good time. They know that I'm passionate. I'm aggressive. I suppose I take that into work too. I'm passionate and aggressive about work too, and see a lot of things come and go in this business. It's like it's a soap opera. You know what I mean? But
it's cool that you bring that up. Like, what are the things like 21 years ago? What's changed from then to?
Oh goodness. Well, in the sales part of it, I mean, all these new guys now are just they take a lot of stuff for granted. We were out there plugging the streets. We were out there, 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. You're sitting on a tailgate, and you had to generate your own jobs. You know what I mean? Nowadays, jobs get generated for you. They tell you where to go. They put you in the spot. I mean, back then, we had to go look for leaves on the ground. We had to look for dents on car hoods. I mean, we were driving around everywhere trying to find it. But once you found it, guess what? You kept your mouth shut because that's where you sat. And you worked and you worked and you worked and you made it. So
Yeah, it was kind of all about owning that neighborhood, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
that
that's
was
why you're there at 7 in the morning.
that was some of the first things we taught. Is like, don't like scatter yourself all over a city. Find that neighborhood, work that neighborhood, own that neighborhood, make that neighborhood your office. And you were really good at that. And one of the reasons why I recruited you is your ability to make friends easily. Like you're just an outgoing, naturally outgoing. Were you always that way as a kid too, or did that come
I've
on?
always, yeah, I've always been outgoing. I just relate with people, and it doesn't matter what that person's, into or whatever. You just relate with them. I mean, as a salesperson, I mean, the first thing you should do as a salesperson driving up to a person's house is if they got the garage door open, look inside. I mean, I think you taught me this. Look, if they've got a fishing pole hanging up, talk fishing. If they've got Packer colors, talk Packers. If they got whatever, make them feel comfortable with you as a person before you start trying to go into a niche on what you do. You know what I mean? Because it is what it is. I mean, you start talking to people and make them feel comfortable, that person is going to be more open to talking to you. So,
Yeah, it's one of the mistakes I think a lot of salespeople make is they get right into it really fast. Hey, we're going around, we're meeting homeowners, I'm working with so and so over here. I'm here doing free inspections. Would you like me to do one for you? And they skip that part about being likable, like
yeah.
being somebody that's creating themselves as another human being, maybe even their next door neighbor, possibly a friend, before they start talking about why they're there. And that's always been one of those things. Like I try to look at each person as a possible new friend, a new relationship. I'm still friends with my very first person I ever sold, Tom Wicks. I still talk to that guy to this day. He's a uber Viking fan. And if you remember back in the day, I had a yellow truck with a green and white stripe right down the middle of it. It was the Packer truck. And I drove up to all those houses in Minneapolis that were all Vikings fans with that truck. Talk about a conversation starter. It was like, man, it instantly started a conversation. And we'd talk football for 5 or 10 minutes before we'd ever even get into talking about what we were there for. Well, I'm here. I might as well go ahead and inspect your roof, right? Yeah, sounds good. Go ahead, man. And I don't know if people really look at that rapport building as importantly as what it is. So you got rapport build. What's the next thing you're gonna do?
The next thing I do is when I meet with a homeowner, my whole point of meeting with a homeowner is I'm there for a reason. I'm there to help you out. I'm not there to sell you anything. I don't have a free box of steaks to give you. I don't have anything. I'm here to help you out. If you want that roof taken care of, why not have me inspect it for you and have the best guy do it? I mean, I'm going to get it approved. And so that's my thing is people try to, like you said, Jim, people try to rush so fast through it that they're missing the parts that are the most important parts. The most important parts is building that relationship. That homeowner, you're going to be with that homeowner from A to Z. You have to build that. They have to feel comfortable with you. I always tell everybody this. Now, I said, when we're all said and done and they write that final checkout, 9 times out of 10, if you've built that relationship where it should be, that homeowner is going to ask you, they've been working with, your company for 2 months maybe, and they're going to ask you at the end, who do I write the check out to? Why? Because they don't care about the company. I mean, they do, but you know what I mean? They care about that person they worked with. They care about Dan Walrack. Dan is who I worked with. I could have been whatever, Mousepad Incorporated. They don't care. They care about me.
And that is the thing, right? Like, I think people buy people. I think there's more to it. They want good service and quality, and something special and value and all that, but they really buy from people they know, like, and trust, which is, yeah, you got to get past that part first before they even care too much about the company. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the company that you're selling for, you can stand up for and say, hey, they're great. I know you work for a great one right now. Built Strong Exteriors there in Minnesota. A little plug for those guys. And Tony, he's a rock star. I like that guy. He does a really good job. A lot of experience in this industry too. So you're now 21 years into it. But if you could go back to the very beginning, what's the most important piece of advice you would give your younger self getting into this?
I would say probably the biggest advice I'd give guys just starting off in this, there's 2. One, I'd say networking. Networking is ginormous in this business, absolutely ginormous. The second thing I would say is, because a lot of people have that mentality where they think they know everything in 2 months. You know what I mean? It's going to take you a year to 2 years to get it down to the point of where you know all the objections, you know basically everything that you need to know. And you know what? You're still learning after 21 years. I still learn something every day. It's just because this business is it fluctuates so much. You're always going to get, I mean, now we're into, last year or two, we're doing drone inspections. I mean, who would have thought 21 years ago we'd be doing drone inspections when I'm up there?
I want to see Dan do a drone inspection.
I've done 2, and I told the adjuster, I'm like, listen, man, I said, let's just you and I get up there. This drone thing, I said, how do you even get to feel the shingle? Well, we got to look for. So
here's one thing I know: a drone can't tell me if a seal is broken.
That's what I'm saying, right? But
Yeah.
I haven't had too much experiences with that because most of the adjusters a lot of people have dealt with Allstate. I guess they do a lot of drones. I haven't come across a lot of Allstates, but whatever.
Well, that's kind of purposeful, right? Like we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, that first bit, whenever you're in as a new guy, you mentioned this networking aspect of things. But in order to network, you got to do a few things. You got to like count up all the people you know, right? Like they can be helpful in your networking. But you got to get out and meet people too. Like you got to go out and you got to knock those doors. You got to do that dirty work. Really, I always told people the first 3 months or so, if you're hard and heavy at it, and you really work those referrals and build that network, you may never have to knock a door again. Now, do you knock many doors nowadays?
I have not knocked a door in probably 13 years, 14 years, maybe.
13, 14 years. That's amazing. So,
I mean, I've worked my neighbors where, like, if I'm out doing a job build and a neighbor's outside, I'll walk over and talk to them and stuff like that. But literally walking up and down the street, knocking a door, it's been at least 14 years.
And most of that time, all of that time that I know of, you've pretty much been in that Western Wisconsin, or actually state of Wisconsin, state of Minnesota, back and forth.
It's been a little bit in Madison, a little bit in Illinois, a little bit over by Appleton area, but it's been pretty confined to, 2 or 3 states at the most.
And that's one of those things I always try to get across to sales guys. Like you've worked this hard to get to know these people, to build up a network of people, and this fresh storm hits and you want to go run after that thing when you have this whole pipeline just sitting here wanting to send stuff to you. What's your advice there?
It's hard with my advice because I have, like you said, I've got it networked. So I bring donuts and bagels and I bring things to my insurance agents that help me out, to property management companies that I'm in line with, working with. But you got to keep that rapport up, and then you take care of them, they take care of you. But like what you said, as far as running to a new storm, I mean, storm or no storm, I'm going to sell $1.5 million every year anyway. It doesn't matter to me. A new storm just makes it easier. A new storm makes it like 2017. You know what I mean? For me.
Well, we always talked about that. Like, a storm would come up, a bunch of people would rush in, they'd work it for 6 months, maybe a year, and then all of a sudden they're kind of gone, right? And it's just all this work is still out there to be done. And it's just finding those little pockets and getting after it. And that just takes a little persistence and tenacity and that network. You actually mentioned it, a couple of like key people for networking, your insurance agents and property management company. Anybody else that kind of fits that?
Well, I do a lot of, really anybody you can use as a network. My financial advisor, he's plugged me with, 30, 40, 50 jobs, agents, property management companies, adjusters. I know a lot of adjusters out there. That helps a lot. Just today, to be honest with you, about 2 hours ago, I just got a call from an insurance adjuster, said, hey, I'm going to be sending you over a lead. It's a big job, so be ready. Lady calls me up. She's got 700 squares of roofing that she wants me to come out Thursday and get her ready to roll. She goes, can you handle specialty shingles? And I'm like, well, what's your specialty shingle? She goes, a Grand Sequoia. I'm like, no problem. Yeah. So and that was all of a 5-minute phone call. Why? Because that adjuster I've met 70 times in my life, and we've built up that rapport where he knows I know what I'm looking at, and you've built the rapport up. It helps. That's called networking. So,
yeah, he knows you're going to call it straight, which they're looking for the same thing. Whether it's an adjuster, an insurance agent, a property management, they want somebody they like, know, and trust, because you're selling them just as much as you're selling anybody else. But when you do it with what I call authenticity, Dan is Dan. Like, there's no getting around. Dan's not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. He's just being Dan, and he truthfully does want to just help out whoever it is that he's working with. And by having that kind of attitude, people are just attracted magnetically to you. Like, hey, I want to work with this guy. He's kind of fun and pretty cool, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And so, yeah, let's work with him.
Well, you hit it on the head there, Jim. This business, to me, 21 years of doing this, a lot of people come in and a lot of people come out of this business. I'm still having fun. I love doing this business. To me, this business is all fun, and it's a game. And if you play the game the right way and you're honest, loyal to people, it's a fun game, so it's competitive. I love it.
That's how I knew you'd be good, by the way. Not only were you outgoing and you could talk to people, that part I got right away, but the competition part of you is what was really the reason I recruited you. You're probably the most tenacious person I've ever met on a basketball court, especially for as unskilled as you used to be.
Appreciate that.
Dan started playing basketball as a football player, and he understood that he was a little stronger, had a little bit lower center of gravity than everybody else, and just asked, "What do you want me to do?" We said, "Go rebound. Don't shoot it ever. Just rebound." And he was like the white man's Dennis Rodman. This unbelievable, just go get rebounds like nobody I've ever seen. And when I saw that, like this, hey, give me what you want me to do, and I'll go be the best at it. I'm like, man, he would be amazing in this if he applies that same attitude. And he did. He did a great job of it. I'm super, super happy for where you've come. So now you live in Hudson, Wisconsin. You got a wife, 3 boys, 4 boys. Okay, 4 boys all playing sports, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
And so to this point, not including your family, what's your greatest achievement?
Well, I would say, not including family, my greatest work achievement, I would have to say probably my 2017 storm that I worked, because I did things in that storm that I really didn't think I could do. And through networking and things like that, I mean, I did $6.5 million of residential sales in 8 months, 7 months.
That is incredible. So
almost $800,000 a month in residential.
Those are numbers that you don't hear very often. I think that's the highest number I've ever heard in residential sales. You got me doubled up on my best year. And that's super cool to hear. What made all that the perfect storm? Why did that work out the way it did for you?
This is what's going to be funny, is that storm was huge in the cities, Blaine, Anoka, that area up there. Out of my $6 million worth of sold jobs I did, I maybe did 10 roofs up there. I worked on the outskirts of the hailstorm, and I used my homeowners, which sounds horrible, but it's true. I used my homeowners to feed me more homeowners. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're supposed to. They're your network.
Yeah, that's I used all my homeowners to network me. So what I thought of is, if I used each one of my homeowners to give me an additional 5 to 10 other homeowners, and everything seemed to have lined up so perfectly in that storm where it happened that way, where I was literally putting in 25 roof. I built 364 roofs myself in that year.
That is some incredible
siding, gutters, all that. And so that's how many jobs I did in 1 year. And it got to the point, to be honest with you, and Tony can attest for this, it got to the point where it got a little bit out of control. So, I mean, granted, he had to bear with a lot of the heartaches on helping me get organized with that, because you know how my organizational isn't the best, which I definitely need to work on. So,
well, I think you should maybe give a shout out to some of that great support that you have.
Yeah, I agree. We have a fabulous people in our office. The owner, Tony and Davey, do a great job. We've got great office staff. Audrey, Michelle, she does great with supplementing. Jackie is a fabulous production manager right now. Her quality control staff is doing a great job. They're going through some learning curves and things like that, but that's what new people do. I mean, there's the sales reps there are fabulous. I've never been with a group of sales reps except the days way back when we were dinosaurs, where you have 5-6 guys in a room that are all $1 million guys. That you don't get that too often. And in this business, once a guy hits that $1 million threshold, he thinks he knows the entire business and ready to roll.
So what advice would you get? So there's sales guys out there, right? And they're competitive, they're aggressive, they want to see what they can do, and they're thinking about going out on their own and doing their own thing. What advice would you give to them?
Well, the first and foremost is a lot of people get that misconception that, all I gotta do is just go do this. It's easy, no problem. They don't think of the aspects of responsibility, insurance. And what I tell a lot of people is grass is not always greener on the other side. And don't ever, no matter what you do, don't ever burn your bridge. Because if you burn your bridge, it's hard to get it back, And would I ever go do it again by myself? Maybe someday. But I really enjoy doing what I'm doing right now, working for a person that, that treats me well. And, I just go do my thing and I don't have to worry about the responsibility. You were just talking earlier about me coaching and doing all that stuff. Well, if I own my own company and I did that, there's no way I'd be able to do that, being done by 3:00 in the afternoon to go coach. You know what I mean? But
well, you're a sales rep that gets done at 3:00 in the afternoon. How do you do that?
I'm usually done every day around between 3 and 4.
So okay, that's cool. How do you make that happen?
Again, I don't knock doors. So networking has all my appointments. I set up. And the other thing that a lot of people need to do too with insurance adjusters, they're people too. You need to treat them with respect, but you need to control your appointments and your adjuster's appointments also. A lot of people think, the adjuster just tells me what time to be there. No. I set my appointments up so I don't miss an adjuster appointment, but I set my appointments up from 8:00 till 2:00, 3:00. After that.
So how do you get that adjuster to because guys do struggle with this. We talked about this.
They struggle a lot. Even in our office, the new guys all struggle with this.
And so some of it's your relationship, right? Like you've got a relationship with the guy and they know you now. You've been around for a while. But you got this new adjuster saying, hey, I'll be there at 10:00. I'll see you there. 4:00. I'll see you there. And you're like, no. And so exactly. What does that look like? How do you turn that around to get it to a time that works for you?
Well, I explained to him. I also have a contract with a homeowner too. And I basically explained to him, listen, I've got 3 other appointments scheduled during those times. I'll give you 3 other options of days and times at work. Let me know which works for you. But in doing that, you have to let the homeowner know that, hey, it's very apparent or very important that you're there with the insurance company because you're their advocate up on top of that roof. You don't go to, how was this line? You remember this line? You don't go to court without a lawyer, right? You taught me. You don't go to court without a lawyer. Why would you have an adjuster on your roof without a roofer? Right?
Yeah. And be a roofer. Don't be a policy interpreter. Don't be a negotiator. Just these are the things that are wrong. This is the scope that I have, and stick with that, and you're pretty safe. This is what it takes for me to do this roof.
And this is the one thing that for 21 years, I still do the same thing from day one that we did on Oshkosh. And the name of the homeowner. I'm not going to say it online here, but you know which one. From this day forward, I do, you have that, everybody's trying to go, computer and virtual and all this other stuff. I still have my notepad with my sketch pad on it, and I do a roof scope sheet every single house I do. I adjust that house. I basically look at that house. If I was the insurance adjuster, I start from the left corner and I walk around that house and I write everything I notice that's damage on that property, from landscape lights to mailbox to a bunch of stuff I don't do. I mean, I don't do mailboxes. I don't do landscape lights. But what I'm doing is I'm building that rapport with that homeowner, and I'm walking around the house. And when I'm said and done, I walk up to that homeowner with pictures and with my things. Say, this is what I noticed on your house that is damaged. These are the things when I meet you with your insurance adjuster that I'm going to get taken care of for you. Yes, some of these things we don't do, but as long as I get these things taken care of for you, that money's your money. Do with what you want. Get them taken care of. That doesn't matter to me, but that's your money. But what you're doing is you're building that rapport with that homeowner that, hey, you're here to help me out.
Yeah.
You're here to be my advocate. Of course, they're going to call you back to meet that adjuster because they want you there with that scope sheet. And so when I meet with that adjuster, I have a copy of that scope sheet. I hand that directly to the adjuster with my card and say, these are the things the homeowner and myself noticed that were damaged on their property. So that adjuster in his mind knows, okay, this is what the homeowner, my insured, knows is damage on the property. These are what I need to take care of.
That was a great way of putting it. It wasn't, this is what I noticed and what we say is damage. This is what I noticed and the homeowner noticed and they believe to be damage on their property. Like that's because it is more about them. They're the one with the contract with the insurance company. We're the one with the contract with them. We aren't there to negotiate what policy covers and what it doesn't or anything like that. We're just here to help them get to where they need to be. And it's really kind of up to them to be that person on your team. We always describe it as a game. It's a 3-player game. And last time I checked, in 3-player games, the one that has 2 on the team usually wins. And it's your job, Mr. Homeowner, to decide whose team you're going to be on. You're going to be on the team that's trying to make sure you get everything you're supposed to, or you're going to be on the team that's trying to, save a few bucks. And it's pretty easy to convince them to be on the winning team.
Right.
So what would you say are the, 2 or 3 most important things that you would tell a brand new guy, go do this to be successful?
2 or 3 most important. Well, the first thing I would tell them is, you have to get out. You have to be out there and be seen. That's important. You have to be, you're not going to be as successful as some of us in this business if you're out there if you don't come to work until 4:30 in the afternoon and you're staying out till 6:30. That's not going to work. Something that I've always learned about this business, rain days, it doesn't matter what. To me, I treat this job as a 40-hour-a-week job. If you're not putting in 40 hours a week plus, you're not going to make the big money in this job, because when I first started off, there was guys that trained me, yourself, Scotty, a bunch of guys that trained me, that even if I had nothing going on, I would sit there and I would just ask questions. I would sit there and stare over someone's shoulder. What are you doing? How are you talking to the insurance company? Because those are all things you can learn. And that's part of the problem with the new guys. And we're even finding that in our office today is, I'm going in the office at 7:30 in the morning, doing paperwork and doing stuff, putting in orders, things like that. And I'm the only one sitting in there, and it's like, my gosh, where's all these new guys? I mean, it's raining out right now. Why are you not in the office?
What could they learn from looking over your shoulder today? Right.
Or asking questions. I think asking questions is a huge thing in this, especially for guys that have been doing this for 20 years,
Yeah,
what would happen in this? What would happen in this scenario? How would you do this?
Yeah, not every office has a guy with 20 years of experience that you could just go to. And one thing I know about it, if somebody asks you a question, you're going to answer it. You're going to give them the help they're looking for.
Heck yeah, why not?
Well, some guys don't. Some guys are like, man, I'm too busy. Go away. But you're not that type of guy. You've always been helpful to everybody. All right. So next thing, you guys that are watching, there's quite a few people watching on Facebook and in various other areas. If you've got questions for Dan, like if you say, hey, what would, I'm struggling with this thing, whatever that thing may be. Maybe it's an objection. Maybe it's, being active. Like Dan just talked about that, the importance of being active in what we do and treating it like a real job, not a part-time job.
Do you see that a lot, Jim? Do you see newer guys doing that a lot, where they treat it more as if it comes to me, I'll take it. But
it comes down to human behavior. If expectations aren't set, like we set that from the beginning, our expectation was we were going to get after it. We're going to go, we're going to work, and we're going to be hard at it every day. And if people weren't like that with us, they didn't stay very long with it. You'd see me scoot them out the door. And so when you set that type of expectation, and you also do that. Like you saw me in there every day. I work my butt off, and you set that example. Then people tend to do it because it was set from the beginning. But when we don't set a standard like that or an example like that, we tend to see some of that type of stuff that guys don't take it as seriously as they probably should. And I think a little bit of that is because they don't understand the opportunity that's in front of them and how fleeting it really is. Like you get a big storm and it all seems so easy, but if you don't hammer it, and I mean hammer and build that network and build those connections, build that giant network of people through that opportunity, and you just take what comes to you, take what's easy. Well, when it dries up a little bit, you're going to be the first one that has to leave because you aren't making any money. And I see that as a big issue today. This idea of having a scheduled time to do the things you need to do to create that knowledge. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Facebook. So one of the things I noticed about Dan on Facebook is Dan's on Facebook. Like he's on Facebook quite a bit.
My wife helps out on that too. So
and so you have a thing that you do, right? And so I call it a shtick, but for whatever reason, what made you do it? Was it something you? There we go. Yeah, exactly. The pose, right?
The pose.
And so, right. So where'd that come from? Where'd that start?
I would say, 15 years ago, I was on a roof with one of our crony buddies, Corey. You remember Corey?
No, Corey.
We were up on a roof, and he's like, this was back, when I'm dating myself, dinosaurs, but when the picture phones would come out and all that stuff, not the old Nextel Scuba Steve phones, and he's like, let me take your picture up there. And so I'm standing up on a big, steep 2-story house in Illinois. And he's like, well, first he said to flex, and I'm not going to flex up on top of the roof. And then he said, give me a pose. So I went with one of these. And I threw out the pose, and he goes, that's your pose. And I said, well, every big 2-story I'm going to do, I'll do the pose on, And so it built from there to now. It's like, it's funny because on Facebook, like you said, I have people on there all the time saying, I see you on the roof, but I don't see the pose. But what it does is it's basically a metaphor, and it just keeps people thinking about roofing, right? Siding, gutters, decks, windows, things like that. So now they're thinking of me. Well, when any of that stuff comes up, they're thinking of the pose, and then boom, instantly. I mean, I get messengered all the time about people. Hey, Dan, do you do this? Dan, do you do that? And it's like, well, yep, we'll take care of it. And so you're right. Facebook's been helping out immensely on just retail jobs or anything.
You're kind of Dan the Roof Man now in your network of people, because it's what it is. It's a social network, and you understand networking. And if you were just standing there with the sign in front of you, or standing there with a homeowner, or standing out in front of a house you inspected, I see 100 of those. I mean, I see them all the time. But you're out there going like this, and it stops somebody as they're going through their feed. Why is that guy making that crazy weird pose? And then they read enough about it, they go, oh, so this guy does roofing, and it just sticks with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. I think that's important in this aspect of being remembered, that I was somebody that was different from everybody else that you saw. And that pose was, I don't know if it was accidental or if it was just something that happened, but what a great example to all these new guys. Like, come up with something that makes people stop. What makes them stop?
Make them choose you. Make them recognize you.
So do any of your other guys there have a pose or anything like that they're doing?
Not that I know of. They all tease me a little bit about that one, but not that I know of. I mean, and it's what's really funny is when you do some of the roofing and siding for people that have seen that on there. They've asked to do it before. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it a few times where I've had a homeowner busting it up with me, or an insurance adjuster do it with me up on top of the roof. And he's just, all right, take a picture.
Yeah, so, I picked the one of you with the cross today. That was the one I put on there. That one was pretty cool. You're on a church, and you did the pose right in front of the cross. And faith is pretty important to me, so I thought that was a good one for you. You're a good dude with a lot of good advice for everybody. Dan, this has been great. I got one more question for you. I always finish with this question. So we all only have so much time on this planet. We all know that, right? We got one life to live it to its fullest. I think you do that every day. Um, when that time comes and people are there to remember you, what do you want them to remember you for?
Well, first and foremost, work aside, I want to remember me for being a great dad. My kids are the most sacred thing in the world to me. And so I want them to remember me about, dad was here to do that. Dad was here to do this. And, part of the reason I'm only a sales rep, to be honest with you, and not an owner of my own company again, and things like that, is the fact that when I owned my own company and my kids were small and I was traveling all the time, I wasn't there for some things. And I taught myself, and I thought to myself, when is money's not the most important thing in the world. This job, you can make a lot of money in it. We all know that. Those that have been good at this for 21 years, selling over $1 million for 20 years straight, you can make some good money in this. But you know what? Money's not the most important thing. I don't want my kids I don't want to go missing a baseball game because I had to go sell one more roof. You know what I mean? And it's nothing against this job. This job is great. A lot of money in it. You guys will be great. But family is the most important thing to me. And I don't want to have to look back and say, God darn it, I miss my kids, such and such. You know what I mean? So that's part of the reason I got out of the business too, as an owner, is because I wanted to be done. Like you said, I want to be done by 3-4 o'clock, so I can go take my kid to baseball practice. I can go watch my kids, concert. I can go do whatever and spend. So that's it. Now, what I want people to look back at me in this business, family aside, is I want people to look back at me as, here's a person that gave everything he had toward whatever company he was working for or himself, and gave 100%. He's not somebody here to screw somebody in the back, or I'm loyal to a point where I'm as loyal until I get screwed in my back. You know what I mean? I love it. I still love doing the job, and I'm going to keep doing. I'll probably be 60 years old doing the same damn thing because I love it. The day comes when I don't love this job anymore, and this job's, to me, considered a job and not fun. It's probably the day I'm going to retire and take my metal detector on the beach and go find some shark teeth.
So a couple of things. I know that was supposed to be my last question, but I got two more.
All right.
So let's do the shark tooth one first. Like this, I got to go do this with you. This is the craziest thing. And this doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with roofing, but it has everything to do with relationships. So Dan and I have known each other for a long time. There was a period of time where we weren't connected, but we connected back up, and Dan starts talking about hunting these fossilized megalodon teeth, which are giant prehistoric sharks. I'm like, well, where are you doing that? He goes, in the rivers of Florida. And you got one handy around there?
I'm looking, man. I'm seeing if she had one around here because this is where we kept them.
And I'm like, in the rivers of Florida, aren't there alligators and stuff like that in that water? He's like, but they don't really bother you. And so he convinced me to go do this with him, and I had one of the most enjoyable times I've had in a long time hunting these giant shark teeth. And so I want to thank you for that. More of a statement than a question. Here's my question. There's something very important I remember about you. You are an extreme tightwad. Like you will save money like nobody's business.
Frugal.
Okay, you're extremely frugal, which I call a tightwad.
Yeah. Or cheap. I suppose you could use that one too.
Cheap, that would be. And so that has put you into this position, because you mentioned this about a year ago or so, that, I could retire if I want to. And I'm kind of thinking about it. And if things go a certain way, I may just do that. How important was that attitude throughout all this time to getting to where you are, where you could actually say, hey, how old are you now?
I am now 40. What am I, 43?
43 years old, and you could retire. That's pretty amazing.
Could have retired about 3-4 years ago, but I still, like I said, I still enjoy doing what I'm doing. I really do enjoy it, which, a lot of people, look at me like I'm crazy. But to me, there's nothing better than driving up to a person's house, seeing them. They need your help, and that's why I view every house as, I'm not here to sign a person up. I'm not here to get another sale. I'm here to help that person out. If they want my help, great. If they don't, you know what? I'll go to the next one. No big deal.
Well, how important is it to these new guys and these young guys in this industry to save their money?
Well, most important, that was the first thing that I was taught when I first started this, when I was a young kid. You taught me that, listen, I know you're going to make great money in the summer, but if you don't save your money over the winter or save your money for future endeavors, you're just going to get your toys and there's going to be nothing with it. I spent 21 years of selling a lot. I mean, I've probably done $100-some million worth of jobs in 21 years, maybe something like that. And I've saved and saved and saved to where now you know how it is with financial planners. You have your money making money for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the money. It's you hit it on the head when we first get on here. It's, to me, I'm motivated. I'm not money motivated. I'm competition motivated.
Right.
I want to be number one on that top list every year as a sales rep. And if I'm not, it just pushes me harder to be that number one. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And I suppose that's with life too. I mean, I want to be as good a coach as I can be. You know what I mean? I want to be, you catch a big fish, I want to catch one bigger. You know what I mean? And it's competitive. And I've always had that. I think I've had that because when I was young, we didn't have a lot of the things that my kids have now. And I had to push just to get to that level playing field. Now, I mean, I want to be on the top, and I would take my skills as a sales rep against most people in the nation. You know what I mean?
It's a valuable skill to teach our kids, is the value of competition.
Yeah.
How important it is to it's not just in making the most money or selling the most. It's in being the best that you can possibly be, and setting that example for our kids, challenging them to achieve those same things, not just giving it to, like, we could both give our kids anything we wanted to give them at this point.
Yeah.
But that just defeats their potential at some point. Dan, this has been good, man. Really good. Great advice. Save your money. Save your money. Like, you probably knew somebody that retired when they were 50. You're like, I want to retire when I'm 40. It was competition to you.
Okay.
Put competition into all that you do, and you can't hardly avoid being successful, it seems like to me.
It makes it work, man. It makes it work. Did you get anybody throw any questions out there or anything?
I did not get any questions yet. There may be some on Facebook that we'll come back to because it's posted in a bunch of different places. I don't know if it's feeding in from all of them, but I'll go pay attention to it. I'll tag you if somebody has a question for you. And I think you're tagged on most of those things.
And if you got any new guys that are watching this and they have questions that they want to just ask a dinosaur, I mean, have them give me a shot, man. I'll help. I'll help anybody, man. I'm to the point now where, to be straight with you, there's no any sales rep out there I don't look at as competition. You know what I mean? Anymore.
Well, that's your competitive thing. Like, you could give them the keys to the castle, like everything you ever knew, every secret that you ever learned, and you could give it all to them, but they'll never work as hard as you'll work. And that's kind of been always my attitude, is like, hey, I'll give you all this stuff, but you'll never outdo me. Yeah. And I think that's good advice for any of us that are people that know some stuff. Help people out. And if somebody does outdo you, high five them, man. And I'm high fiving you today.
I told Tony that from day one. I said, if you've got a rep that's going to outsell me in a year, you know what? I'm going to go up. I'll give them a big handshake and say, you know what? That's impressive.
Well, I'm doing that today. I'm high-fiving you. You beat me on my number one year ever, which is you're one of very few. And so that's a big high five. I'm also giving you a high five on getting to a point of retirement at 40 before I was able to. I'm there, but now you beat me to it. Well done. So high fives on that.
I'm slapping one back at you I wouldn't to be here. I'd be a school teacher making, whatever, if it wasn't for you. So, I mean, I know it's very rare to find somebody come in this business for 21 years and being able to go back and discuss, 21 years of doing this stuff, because, when I've gone to trade shows and stuff and they've asked how long have you been doing this job? And hopefully I don't look that old, but when I'm one of the only 5 or 10 guys still standing, when they read up the 20-year-old mark and there's 1,000 people in the audience, boy, it definitely makes you feel old, doesn't it? But
yeah. Yeah, it really does.
I can probably say that on this screen right here, I'm not the oldest one doing this business. So
No, you're not. I got you beat there for sure.
We'll go with that. You like how my cheeks are all red and everything here? I spent a lot of time in the sun the last 4 days on roofs. You know that?
That's good. That's good. You're doing what you love doing, and that's really the key I wanted to share with everybody is find a way to love this job, because it is very rewarding, fulfilling, and it can help you achieve some things potential-wise far beyond just the money.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan's living, breathing, crazy proof of it. Hey, thanks, man. Really appreciate you hopping on. I know how big of a deal it is to get some of your time like this. Go coach your kids today, and thanks a lot for being on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You guys can find Dan on Facebook at Dan Walrack, which I think he's the only person I've ever met with that last name other than his wife, which he forced upon her. So hook him up there, and you can find him. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on our next episode of Contractor Radio.
Thank you, everybody.